I mean, 6-0 Kansas would be pretty wild, but I'm not there. I'm going to go TCU to also win, but I think Kansas covers. I could see this being a nail biter at the very end and TCU winning on a last-second field goal or something. So give me TCU to win, but give me Kansas to cover. I think this will be super close.
Oh, okay. You're going to take Kansas to keep it close. With all due respect to Memorial Stadium there in Lawrence, Kansas, they hold 50,000. Fog Allen Fieldhouse only holds a little over 16,000. So we'll put that one on the board, lock it in. Our next game, going down to Baton Rouge, Tennessee. First visit to Death Valley since, I believe, 2010. If I'm correct on that, which is just an absolute travesty in my book. This is why this SEC schedule, we got to fix it, because there's no way that University of Tennessee should be going to Baton Rouge once every 13 years, 13 years. It just isn't right. We got to fix this. So Tennessee going to LSU. LSU is a 2-point home dog in this one, sir. And give me your thoughts on this game. I know you have a lot of them.
The debut of D. Williams, which I'm sure everyone nationally is waiting for. They've all been waiting for the season debut for the cornerback to make his debut as probably the nickel corner, because Warren Burrell, it was announced this week, I don't know if you saw, the 3-year starter at corner for Tennessee is out for the year while undergoing surgery. So an already thin wide receiver group, or cornerback group and secondary in general, got a little bit more thin this week. That will probably be more of a problem later on this season. Not against Kayshon Boutte, who, if you look at his season stats, just not a lot there. Like, he's going to be fine come NFL stuff and everything like that, but has not produced to that level. That's not how LSU's winning football games right now. They're running the ball really well. Jane Daniels is doing it in other ways. This is tough because LSU is UT is 20-10-1 all time, which kind of surprised me. But the thing about this is Tennessee is now the number 1 passing offense in the country. LSU is 68th. Something that I think a lot of folks have to, and look, there's a reason that Tennessee now has the 3rd highest SEC title odds of anyone in the conference right now. There's a reason that their CFP playoff odds, I think, are 6th nationally right now to win the whole dang thing. I don't think that's happening, obviously, but people have to adjust at some point. It takes some time, I think, throughout the course of a season for people to be like, oh, this is just a different type of deal. Like, people kept waiting for, like, Kyle Trask not to like, kind of turn back into what people thought Kyle Trask was, you know? Because it's like, oh, the walk-on type dude from who was backing up Felipe Franks. Like, Felipe Franks was the name. He was the 5-star. He was he was supposed to be a superstar at Florida. Did not work out, obviously. But people were waiting to write Kyle Trask off. And then Florida just kept winning. And they beat Georgia. And that group just excelled throughout the course of the year. And, I mean, they were just extremely close to making the college football playoff that year. And I think there are some similarities between what Dan Mullen did with those guys and the way that offense just hummed for the course of a season. And I was thinking about it a little bit with Hendon Hooker, who is the best quarterback in the SEC this year. And you look at the quarterback rating, you look up top to bottom, he has been the best quarterback in the conference to this point. All that being said, that's a good place to be in. Like, if you have the best quarterback this year, based on what we've seen, you're going to win a majority of your college football games. Like, you're going to win a lot. When you're the number 1 passing offense in a sport that is so heavily involved, there's a reason that TCU is number 2 in scoring offense. There's a reason the majority of these scoring offenses that are in the top 10 are pass heavy. This is just where the sport is now. And I think it's really, really hard to beat Tennessee playing any way where you're not going to score 40. If LSU cannot score 40, they're not going to beat Tennessee. So, with that being said, and we'll see if Tillman plays, I'm curious to see if Jaden Daniels can throw, because Tennessee's run defense isn't bad. That's like the dirty little secret. It's like there are some issues. Tennessee's been good against the run this year, and they get pressure. Joshua Josephs, I expect to play a little bit more. 4-star freshman. Tyree West, they're rotating a bunch. Rodney Gardner has been great at rotating the defensive line. They have a pass rush. Like Tyler Barron, Byron Young. Like this group gets after the quarterback. I don't see the points. And I just think that that's ultimately where at the beginning of the week I was like, oh, at Death Valley. You know what also helps? Playing this game at noon, 11 a.m. Louisiana time is nice. Not going there at night is a huge win, I think, for the Vols. Avoiding just what that atmosphere is like at night versus during the day, or even at 3:30, the CBS game. They lucked out in a major way getting this game at 11 a.m.
How dare you, sir? You think those folks in Baton Rouge are not going to be ready by the time kickoff comes?
It's not the same. It's not the same at 11 a.m. You know it's not the same.
That place is going to be electric still. It's LSU. It's Death Valley. It's still going to be a loud stadium.
It'll be loud. I just don't think it's going to be as intimidating as it would be at night. I just think that Death Valley at night is a totally different deal. But look, LSU, Brian Kelly has figured some stuff out. He deserves credit. The defense is solid. I just don't think they're going to be able to score enough. But it will come down to, does Tennessee, have they cleaned up what plagued them in these games last year? Emory Jones, Matt Corral, the third and longs, where they just could not get off the field. And the defense would do their job just enough, and then they couldn't stop on 3rd and 12 when they're playing soft zone coverage, because they're dropping 8 and sending 3 a lot last year. And this year they're not doing that nearly as much. But I think if they're doing that in this one, and they're scared of Jaden Daniels getting just kind of breaking stuff off and improvising on his own, Tennessee will have some problems and kind of just see those same kind of things from last year. I just don't think they're going to do that. I think this Tennessee team's different. I think people are starting to realize it's different. They're one of the 6-7 best teams in college football, and they should win this game. I don't think this is where Tennessee goes down. I think they win and cover. I would not be surprised if they win by double digits in this one. So that's where I've landed. They just are going to score too much. Hendon Hooker is just too good. So give me the Vols to win and cover. I'm feeling like 42-24, something like that. 42-24.
Okay. You said a lot there. I want to start by saying, as good as Hendon Hooker has been, I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback in the SEC. I mean, after he's played one conference game, like against Florida at home, like
Pitt counts.
Pitt's a tough opponent, but I think the Pitt game is one of the data points out there. So that's the only road game Tennessee's played so far. They went to overtime with Pitt. Pitt just lost to Georgia Tech, who just fired their head coach. Like, do we know that Pitt is a good team? It's hard to say at this point. So my biggest thing is, I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. I think this LSU offense has been better than Florida's offense. I think Tennessee is a better team than LSU. But just the more and more I think about going into Death Valley, like, I can't get the images of Anthony Richardson throwing for over 400 yards out of my head. Like, I think on the road, I just think I don't think it takes 40 points to win at home. Like, I think when you have the atmosphere, the crowd on your side, I think it's probably going to take 30, but I mean, Pitt was 27-27 going into overtime. I think going into Death Valley, as good as I think this Tennessee team is, I think this is by far their biggest challenge so far of the season. I kind of was wanting them, as good as the Florida win was, I kind of wanted them to like assert their dominance over Florida. You know, it felt like they just kind of hung on, and if this is the year for Tennessee and Florida is as bad as they are right now, like I wanted a more emphatic win over Florida in Neyland Stadium. So while I think Tennessee's the better team, and I really truly want this third Saturday in October, this College GameDay undefeated showdown to be a thing with Alabama and Tennessee next week, I just don't see Tennessee going into Death Valley and getting the win. So give me LSU to pull the upset at home, and they'll be the home dog of the week.
Wow. Is this Zeus's home dog of the week?
Yeah, we're putting it on the board. I feel like I still wonder about Tennessee. They're with how
Wait,
how
what is
they're
the wonder?
they're-
I feel like they're very straightforward. I feel like Tennessee might be one of the most
It's the-
straightforward teams right now.
but the pass defense, they just got torched defensively against Florida, and that was at home. That's my biggest thing. Is going on the road it's not necessarily going to be easier. And LSU has a nice stable of backs, as good as Tennessee's run defense has been this year. Like, they just have a lot of different guys to get it to. Like you said, Butte's been pretty underwhelming so far, but they just have a lot of weapons.
2.96 yards per carry, 21st in the country. Like, their run defense is good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As good as Tennessee's run defense has been, LSU's got a lot of good backs, and Jaden Daniels is also part of that rushing attack, and he's been a really dynamic player. And I think he's better than Anthony Richardson personally, and I think Richardson gave Tennessee's defense a really hard time. So, yeah, I think the home crowd is obviously the kind of the biggest thing that's swaying this. I could see Tennessee winning this by 2 touchdowns at home. But there's something about going into Death Valley. I feel like it accounts for a few points in a game. So, yeah, give me the Tigers to hold serve at home.
Smoky Grays will be out for this one, so that's going to be good. How do you feel about the Smoky Grays?
I do like the Smoky Grays. I'm glad to see Heupel bring the fun back that Jeremy Pruitt sucked out of the program.
That's fair. I'm not seeing it. I don't think this LSU defense is where they were. I mean, losing a lot of talent. I mean, they lost that 5-star kid on the defensive line in the opener to Florida State. I don't know. I don't trust this LSU. I mean, they're 14th in the scoring defense, averaging 14 points a game, giving up.
And they did not look good in the first half versus Auburn at all.
Yeah.
But going on the road, playing at home, it's a different beast.
I mean, when you look, at home, they're giving up 11 points per game. On the road, 20.5. So that comes out to the average 4.5. They haven't given up any scores to a non-Power 5, which is interesting. I don't know. I think we'll see ultimately how this all unfolds for them. But it's not Auburn. 17 points to Auburn's one thing.
But the other thing is, too, Mississippi State, a very dynamic offense, went into Death Valley, and I think they won that game pretty easily, like pulling away. So, I don't know. They really shut down Will Rogers in that passing attack. So, like, if they can limit Tennessee's big plays through the air, I think that's a game changer for sure.
Well, Cedric Tillman's apparently getting on the plane on Friday, and Heupel said tonight that he is in a, quote, position to where he's starting to move around. So I think that will be a big part of it, too, is what Cedric Tillman's able to do in this one. Because it's one thing to get away with it at home against Florida. It's another thing to not have your second-best player on the road in a big-time SEC atmosphere. So we'll see. Not an excuse, but that is a reality that Cedric Tillman is the best receiver in the conference, and Tennessee might not have him. So we'll see, ultimately. But Smoky Grays.